Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt were both sentenced to prison this week. Yesterday, the two of them stood before the judge as their fate was read to them. It was nearly 6 months ago that Ruby and Jodi were arrested at Jodi's home after Ruby's youngest son managed to escape the conditions they were holding him and Ruby's youngest daughter in. After the police were alerted, they were able to retrieve both children Jodi had held in her home, and from there, more and more was revealed about the things that the two of them were doing behind closed doors. A couple months ago, the two of them pled guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse during their separate court appearances in St. George, and both signed a plea agreement that was acknowledged by the judge. On Tuesday, February 20th, the two of them separately appeared in court once again for their sentencing. They were both sentenced to 4 consecutive sentences of 1 to 15 years in a Utah prison. Each count they pled guilty to has a prison sentence of 1 to 15 years, and they pled guilty to 4, so they could do anywhere from 1 to 15 for each of those 4 counts that they pled guilty to. It's unclear how long they will be in prison, as the Utah Board of Pardons and Parole will determine their exact amount of prison time, and Ruby and Jodi will have 30 days to appeal the decision, and they could also have different prison sentences. During the sentencing, Ruby's attorney tried to say that in the beginning, when he first met her, she was very defensive over what she had done, but as time has passed, she's realized how horrific her actions have been, and he believes that she understands what she has done is wrong and seemingly is trying to say that she has changed. But I think a lot of people believe that her actions with Jodi are unforgivable and hard to believe that she has changed given her history of being strict prior to even being a part of Jodi's life. But it does seem like Ruby's whole defense is rooted in her being manipulated by Jodi and her teachings.
Ruby Franke has become a serious student of her own actions. In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive, and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive. Fortunately, Ruby came to the stark realization of the errors in her thinking patterns and subsequent actions. To say that she was horrified by this realization would be to put it mildly. I have marveled at how quickly Ruby abandoned her defensive stance and moved toward her total acceptance of her actions and to her sentence today. So far, she has used her time in jail to unwrap the layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual. Ruby realizes that she still has work to do in shedding those thinking errors and to reestablish a better and correct pattern of thinking and behavior.
Ruby did also make a statement in court, which was very lengthy, and she was very emotional, especially towards the end when she was talking about Kevin and her children. But in this, she said that she followed counseling guidance for the last 4 years, which is in reference to Jodi, saying that it led her to a dark delusion and that she was living in a distorted reality that went unchecked, and acknowledged that she isolated herself from anyone who challenged her. She called out Jodi by name, later saying that she was never officially her business partner, and she was never paid a wage by Jodi or connections, and that Jodi was employed as her son's counselor back in 2019, and that she was the one that actually paid Jodi in 2020 to be her mentor.
Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020 I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
This is extremely interesting to hear because I think a lot of people have been under the impression that both Ruby and Jodi were profiting off of making videos together on the Connections page, but we are hearing that was not the case and that Jodi was seemingly profiting off of Ruby this whole time. She later admits that she was brainwashed into believing that this world was evil, with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abuse. And she acknowledged her need and understanding of serving time. She later acknowledged Kevin's family, saying that they did see the warning signs long before she did, and she pushed them away. She said that to her parents, she was wretched to them, And to her siblings, she said that she knows that she dragged their families through the mud during all of this. And she started breaking down, talking about Kevin, saying that he is the love of her life and that she was sorry.
Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years. You are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. It really wrapped around my heart. And now I'll never be able to undo.
And to her kids, she said that she was the mama duck who was consistently waddling them to safety, and she can see now that over the past 4 years, she was in a deep undercurrent that led them to danger. So it seems Ruby is trying to say that she understands why she is going to be sent to prison, and she's not going to argue with that, and is saying that she is sorry.
You exemplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist. My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me.
During Jody's sentencing, her attorney tried to say that she's not the person that she's been portrayed to be, but she accepted responsibility in this case and entered into this plea agreement. She later made a very short statement and said that she sincerely loves these children and desires for them to heal physically and emotionally, and chose not to go to trial so that they didn't have to relive what happened to them. And her attorney tried to say that the statement could sound hollow, but she's sincere in her statement.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them. My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution as an outcome.
The judge did come back at the statement wanting to ask if Jody understands that it was her behavior that caused harm to the children, and wanted to know if she, fully understands that. And her attorney claims that she does understand and accepts responsibility. Now, like I said, they both could be facing anywhere from 1 to 15 years for each count, but something to note is that in an article published by ABC News, they wrote, prosecutor Eric Clark told reporters after the sentencing that he hopes Hildebrandt will serve more time than Frankie. Clark said it appeared Frankie understands that she was wrong in her abuse and has taken responsibility, but Hildebrandt has made statements in calls from jail suggesting she does not have remorse. That is insane and just, I don't want to say not surprising, but it's just crazy to hear this. It really is. She is unwell. She's truly unwell to sit there and believe that what she has done is nothing to have remorse over is truly scary. It's scary, and she belongs behind bars for the max sentence. I think a lot of people would say life, but definitely the max, especially if they don't feel like she is remorseful. They added a quote from prosecutor Eric Clark again that read, "At the end of the day, this is a case about religious extremism, and I think that Miss Frankie's statement kind of got into that. These guys went down a rabbit hole, and Miss Hildebrandt believed that she was regularly talking to God, and Miss Frankie was following the directions that she was getting from Miss Hildebrandt," prosecutor Eric Clark told reporters. His statement later continued, "I'm super concerned that Jody, if she were released today, is a significant risk to gather followers," Clark said. Ruby was essentially a follower of Jody, and if she's gathering people and then convincing them to do this kind of thing, that's a huge risk. Ruby did mention her family in her statement, and from what we last heard, Kevin had filed for divorce, but seemed to reconcile his relationship with his daughter Sherry. It seemed like Sherry and Chad have also reconnected, as she posted photos of them together over the holidays last year. And Chad is now on social media as well. Sherry has been on social media for a very long time. She never got her phone taken away. She had a YouTube channel. She's been on Instagram, but there was a long period of time where Chad was not on social media because he had no phone, no access to social media, but he's an adult now and he is public on there. And him and his girlfriend actually made a TikTok together recently that was going around because he made mentions of his mom being in prison. People were overall just happy to see him be able to joke about this, since they know this family has been through some extremely hard times and that things have not been easy, and just want to see this family be able to heal in some way from all that has happened. But that is what has been going on with Ruby Franke in this case and what has come out about her and Jodi this week. If anything further comes out, I will let you guys know, but as of right now, that has been the update. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.